In this session, we're going to be looking at how to write a stellar email sequence to promote your art. Not only one email, as we've been talking about in these last few sessions, the power of email communication, we really looked at that, but setting up a sequence as part of your marketing strategy. But before we get started, I'd just like to introduce myself briefly to the community because I know there are new people in the house. And if you're watching the replay or you're here, then you know who is this person talking to you and what is she doing in this Facebook group. Well, my name is Sonia Small here. I'm originally from Cape Town, South Africa. I live in the Netherlands, well, for another month and a half because we are relocating back to Cape Town, South Africa. That's where I'm originally from. And so we are in the process, the transition of moving back there. It'll be just business as usual, only in a different setting because we'll be going live still every Wednesday. The community will be there, the courses, the coaching, everything will continue. And that's the beauty of online life. And of course, make some time to make my own art and get that out there. So that's our plans. My husband and I are relocating. So if you do see things happening in September and you're thinking, you know, it looks like a different location, then you know why. My big passion is to see artists succeed. I went to the Art Academy myself. I'm a working artist in all kinds of genres, been active in different creative businesses. And it's so important that you succeed. Not only, you know, success can mean a lot of different things to different people. It's not only financially success, but having a good feeling, you know, being able to put your heart in the things that you're doing, or helping others, or maybe it's, you know, I coach artists that just love running a business and their business happens to be creativity. That could also mean success to you, being in that place where you need to be and being, you know, growing and honing your skills and making the most out of your talents. And that is my passion, helping artists succeed. To help you with that, I have these live sessions. And there's on my website, you can look at artist or listen to artist podcasts, which you'll find on YouTube and on Spotify, on iTunes, or actually wherever you listen to podcasts, you can have a listen to those. It really helps. You can make your art and listen to the podcast in the background while you're working, just for affirmation, for help, some tips. I might try and make it as practical as possible. What I love is interviewing other artists. What are they doing? What are they coming up against? What are their struggles? What are their challenges? What are their, you know, wins? And we really can learn from that. There's so much out there, and everyone has a different take on things. So that is also in the regular podcast. It's called Help I'm Artist Podcast. You can find that on those channels. So, and of course, the community. If you're here, then you are part of this community. Please feel free to share your story. Share your art, share, you know, your tips, just helping one another on this artist journey. This last month, we've been looking at email communication, and that's our final session in that series today. We started off with looking at the power of email communication as part of as a marketing strategy, the different strategies that you can use, intentional choices. Might sound very fancy strategy, but actually it's just an intentional choice that you're making, and you can do that online with your social media, with your website, in person. And this month we looked at email as a strategy. I found that there's two kinds of artists that have made email foundational in their business, and yes, they've really seen fruit from that and growth. And artists that say, no, thank you, it's not for me. And hopefully these sessions are helping you take that step to see that it's not that scary, that it's doable, that it's, you know, step by step. We're all at different places in our art business that you can use and have that as a strategy and to connect with your art audience more effectively. We looked at all the resists. There are many resists that we can have usually in our mind between these 30 centimeters or 25 centimeters between these ears. That's where the big resists happen because we think, you know, I'm not a writer. I don't know what to talk about. Who is waiting for my email? I don't want to spam people. So many reasons not to do it. But if you start seeing the effect of it, really being able to reach people more intentionally, hopefully you'll see that those resists melt like snow in the sun, and that it can be such an important part of your business. We also had a look at different kinds of emails. It's not just an email that you're sending, hi, my name is. There's different kinds of emails. And as you grow in your art business, you can see which email is more appropriate at what phase and stage in your creative cycle. You can send informational emails, conversation, inspiration, promotion, building connection. There's enough reasons why to send emails. We briefly looked at the anatomy of an email. If you've missed these sessions, not a problem. They are in the feed. So just scroll in the feed, look under the media section. You'll see the videos there. Or you can go to the YouTube channel or my website under the tab live. There's a whole archive of these videos and other live sessions. So if you missed, you're thinking, okay, what is that anatomy all about? Head over to that replay. And that there's important parts of an email, especially if we're also looking at the sequence, that header, that subject line. That's usually where people decide whether they're going to be opening it up or not. So paying attention to that. The body of your email, the footer of your email, where you have your signature, your contact details, maybe a quote, adding your branding, adding a call to action. So having some kind of action people can take, clicking on a URL, clicking on a button, something that asks for action. And then the PS, which is something that most people then just generally read after the subject line. So adding a PS really helps. Let me know in the comments, guys, who has been busy with emails this last week? Anyone else? Joined an email list, maybe? That was one of the challenges that I put out to the community. Join email lists. See what other artists are doing. What works? What doesn't work? What have you seen? What did you like? What didn't you like? So that you can get into that flow of email communication, and then you can get some ideas. So anyone else? Hey, Anita. Hi, Yael. Good to have you here. Gudrun is here from Germany. Hello, Gesine. Please, guys, share your URL, share where you're from, share what kind of art you're making, so that we can start connecting with one another. And also, if you have an email list, we can join each other's email lists so that we can learn from one another. Matja says, I'm learning by doing. Matja, that's the only way we're going to be learning, just doing, seeing what works. I think that is just so, we're artists, but also art entrepreneurs. That is sort of key when you are an entrepreneur. We are continually trying. It's one big science lab, really. You're trying things, you're experimenting, you're seeing that works or that doesn't work. Why doesn't it work? Can I do something different? It's actually like making a piece of art. You're continually looking, what is working, what's not working. And that's the same with running your art business and also doing the email communication. So doing, just start to see, building that email list. Jan said he joined 2 email lists but haven't received anything yet. There's a big win there for artists still to get their welcome sequences out. We're going to be looking at that in this session. The important sequence is the welcome sequence, so that you can welcome people. They've taken the trouble to get onto your list. Why not welcome people and make it worth their while and get them excited? And then they don't forget you. So if they think about an artist, they are thinking about you. And that's the power of building that connection, and email is a wonderful way to do that. Jess says she joined more email lists, looked at more websites, read reviews of both. I'm writing a few templates for emails. It's a bit overwhelming at times. Yes, Jess, I totally get it. It's a new thing. It's not something that we've learned from the start. It's something that we need to sort of hone our skills in, but it's also just by doing so. Especially with technology, there's so many things changing all the time. It just keep going. In Dutch, we have a wonderful saying, de boer ploegt voort. The farmer just keeps plowing, just keep going, keep moving forward, keep planting little seeds, keep making little tweaks, pulling out little weeds, and you're just going to start seeing growth. So totally get the overwhelms, break it down into small steps, and that you can keep, in the clear, so that you're not getting so overwhelmed that you get demotivated and then quit doing it. So well done for trying, and keep going, and you're busy. So I look forward to seeing the results. Let us know when your list is up and running, and I'd love to join your list. So those are looked at 2 emails also in this series about emails that lead to sales and emails that don't lead to sales. Very distinct, different kinds of emails, which also determine the tone of voice, how you're going to structure the body of an email. So we looked at that. Look at the replay if you're wanting to find out the different the nuances in emails. We looked at the information email, the sales email, a pitch email, all different kinds of emails. So it's good to know what is the goal of your website. You have to ask yourself those questions. Joining email lists, seeing what works, what doesn't work is a great way to just get familiar with what's possible. And having that opt-in form, that's what we looked at last week, how you can grow your email list, giving people an incentive to join your email list. So not just join my newsletter, but tell people why, or what can they be expecting. Get excited about it. Because if you're excited, people are going to be excited. So you need to be infused with that, not just like, I'm going to do it and I'm, crunching my teeth. I don't really want to, but I have to. Get excited about the possibility and what that's going to mean for your art business, and what that you're going to connect far more with people, connect with your art audience. And having an opt-in or having an incentive, offering something as a reward, as a gift for people joining your list is a great way. And I gave a whole list last week of what you could be doing to connect with your art audience and reward them. So setting up a stellar email sequence. So not one email, but emails. That's what we're going to be focusing on in this next part of the session. And as Jess said, she's already making templates. You can prepare all of this in advance. And that's so wonderful about sequences and also email. You don't have to think it up in the moment. You can prepare ahead of time. And once you get more structure, more clarity in your planning, having a clear idea of your creative cycle, you can plan this all ahead of time and automate it. And that's once you get your email service provider up and running, you can actually have everything done in advance and set it up so that you can keep that communication going. Now, what's an email sequence? An email sequence is part of your can be part of your marketing campaign. So it's one part of a campaign. So for example, you're setting up an exhibition, or you have a new body of work, or you have some exciting event, or you have a collaboration, or you have a new workshop, or whatever is happening. It could be big or small, that you set up a campaign. We've been talking about that with different marketing strategies, and setting up an email sequence is part of a marketing campaign. Now, I know that sounds really fancy, but it's nothing more than a communication, setting up communication. So aligning your social media, your emails, what you're telling people with your branding, just to have a coherent message. That's your marketing campaign. And it is part of your communication plan. And the more you start growing, not only in your artistry, but also as a business person, you'll start seeing how important it is to have a plan in your communication. So not just feeling it and doing it, but that it's part of a larger communication plan. And that's what we're looking at more in this community. It's a big focus of the course that I give, to have a plan, because then you can be very intentional. A sequence is actually using email marketing sequences is a process of sending people emails, and that could be at different intervals, where we're looking at the different kinds of sequences, but you're sending them a series. So not one, it's at different stages, and it could be to share your creation, your creative process, promotion, or your sales cycles. We will be looking more at that. There are different kinds of sequences. As Jan already said, he joined email lists but didn't hear anything in return. Sequence, not only hello, welcome for joining my list, you can actually send an introduction sequence, and we'll be looking at that. There's an invitation sequence when you have something coming up, you want to invite people to something specific, or you have a promotion season where you are working on your work and you want to promote an event, or maybe even an event from somebody else, or collaboration. It can be all kinds of promotion. and of course then the sales sequence, which your promotion is part of, and that is also called a sales funnel. That's a very fancy marketing term, because if you think of a funnel, that in the end you have a specific goal, you want people to purchase something. That's part of the funnel. So you're actually communicating at different levels, because the intention is for people to purchase. So that can be a sales funnel. And then you can send a follow-up sequence. So that could also be more than one email. If people have been to an event, if people have been interacting with your art, you can follow up. Or maybe people have abandoned a cart. Maybe they wanted to buy something but got distracted, the phone was ringing, or the kids were crying, or something happened. You can look at your statistics. You can see someone actually wanted to buy something in my shopping cart. They wanted to purchase a painting, or they wanted to join an event, or they wanted to go to a certain workshop. You can see on your statistics, if you have an email service provider, someone who abandoned and didn't pay, and you can send them a follow-up. But this, be nice to yourself, not overwhelmed. This is something you can grow in the next few years as you start really giving structure to your art business. Because the more intentional you can be and keep it nice and simple, but then you can be more effective, because then you can measure what works, what doesn't work, how you can make those little tweaks, how can you connect more effectively. And I'm curious in the group, who of you have used an email sequence? Just give me a yes or give me a no. Or maybe you're thinking, is this something that I've done? Maybe it's a maybe, but or just give me a yes or a no or a maybe of someone. Hey, Maartje, good to have you here. Have you set up or used an email sequence in your business? I know, Yael, you were saying a few weeks ago she had an opening of the exhibition, and that she set up some kind of marketing strategy, and that she found that it really appreciated being communicated not only once, but on a regular basis, so people were informed about what she was doing. So, Yael, that's great to hear. It really is effective. And I'm curious if you had an email sequence, or did you just send one-off emails? Jess said she had a business before, but not with email and social media. So old school. Well, they're just newsletters. I know that I used to send every week, every 2 or 3 weeks, I should send a handwritten newsletter, which I really miss. It's just things from the tax man and from accounts, but to actually get a handwritten letter, or it was photocopied. But that's old school. I know people, marketeers, that actually still do that. They send handwritten letters, handwritten newsletters, which you can really differentiate yourself from other people. But that's a lot of work. Jessie says not yet. Manja says no, not yet. Jess says no. Yes for onboarding. So my chair has had a sequence. So onboarding is something that you go through. It's like you're checking into a plane. The whole process when you arrive at the airport till when you get into the plane, that's your onboarding. And there's a whole strategy that you could use to get people, depending on what you're onboarding people to a campaign or to an event, making it really easy and accessible, and having people feel at home, feeling trusting with your brand and with your art. So good that you have that onboarding sequence, very important. It's like an introduction sequence that we'll be looking at. Yael said no. It was mostly Facebook. Okay, Yael. So that's also, you can use that as part of your communication plan. Use email and opening. Okay. So maybe that's the next step for you, Yael. So the next time you can set up more of a sequence, and you can get things automated, and you can see, what emails were opened, what people like, and you can tweak as you go along, because we're learning on the job. The clarity comes in the process as you're moving forward. Whether you're sending a one-off email or you're sending a sequence, getting people's attention, getting people to see you, to know you, to get their attention, that's a given. Number one. And then using your sequences to connect, have conversations. So you're not just talking to some kind of, far off person, but having an understanding of who's on your email list. What is it that they enjoy to read? What is your tone of voice? How can you communicate with them? Having that connection in your content, in the images that you're using, in the words that you're choosing, your layout, whether you're going to make it very visual or you're just going to use words. And then there is that invitation. Part of your sequence is always an invitation, whether it's an invitation to connect, invitation to respond, to engage, to go to your website. There's always some kind of call to action. Important, because it's not a one-way conversation. You're building relationships with your email list. And this is something that you can grow in through the years. So it's a two-way conversation. So what makes a good email sequence? Having an understanding of your audience. Who are you writing to? Who is this person? And that just comes by, trying things, talking to people, really just looking, getting out of your own space and going into the space of your potential buyer. Who is this person? Getting an understanding of their demographics, of their, where they're living. Maybe you're sending your emails in a certain language, but maybe your audience is far bigger. And maybe that changes depending on an event that you're doing. Maybe they're younger, you can use more colloquial language. Maybe they're a little bit older, you need to sort of take them along on a journey. They're maybe not so tech savvy. Really understanding who is this person and finding a way to communicate with them so that they feel understood, that they feel it's worth their time to open that email. And that will determine the subject, the body, how you are going to lay it out. That makes it effective. And that comes through asking, learning, listening, trying things out. The content, what you actually put in your emails, and especially if you're making a sequence that you are dissecting, breaking down the information so you don't have to send lengthy emails. You can send short emails, but you are just snippeting, and maybe they don't open the one, but they will be opening the other, and they will be informed about an event or about what you're doing. So you need to know, what do you want them to know? What do they need to know to come to an event or to engage with your art? The timing. When are you going to be sending something? There's a real rhythm in sending. When are you going to be sending? And we will be looking at that when we break down the sequence. And then having a call to action, getting that engagement, asking people to take action. So these are some of the ingredients of an effective email sequence. There are different ways that you can send an email sequence. One of the ways is sending in a funnel, what I already mentioned, that if sales is your trajectory, so that's your objective, is that you're sending a campaign, you're sending a series of emails, because at the end of the campaign, you want people to take action, and that is a buying. Whether they are purchasing an art piece, or purchasing entrance to an event or to a workshop, the sales is your objective. So being really clear, and you can use these steps. There's different parts of this strategy when it comes to sales. It's not just like sending one email, yes, I have this new body of work, please buy. That's not how it works. You have to build relationship, and that's by sharing your creative process. You can share some of your personality. You can tell people a little bit more about you. Then there's the promotional phase, where you're telling them that something's coming up, you're preparing them, and then eventually you go into sales. There's that structure of that email. It's a different kind of email than when you just are making an announcement where something is not involving money or a transaction. Then there are 3 phases I'd like just to highlight a little bit when you are launching something. Launch, think of a rocket that's going. When you have the launch date, maybe you have a book coming out, or you have an opening, you have that new body of work is finished, And that's when your shopping cart is opening, or your new Etsy shop is opening, or the new collection is available, all the reproductions are there, or you have an open studio, whatever it is. The moments that that event is there, or that it's available, or when it's open, that's the launch. Then you have your pre-launch, that whole runway going up to your launch, and then you have your post-launch, because that conversation continues after the event too. So that's just sort of the big building blocks. Also, when you're thinking of sending an email sequence when it leads to sales, to think, okay, pre-launch, launch, the event itself, the moment itself, and then the post-launch. What does that look like? The pre-launch, if you're not launching, so if you're not having an event, or you're not, doing something specific in your creative cycle, you are in the pre-launch. So any other time when you're not launching or post-launching, you're pre-launching. So maybe right now you don't have anything specific on the calendar. You are just making your art, you're sharing your process, you're sharing a little bit about your personality, you're sharing more about your vision, you're connecting on your social, through email, and on your website. You are in pre-launch. You are feeding people with information, you are building relationship, you are building that trust factor. That all comes in the pre-launch phase. So you're never like off the grid, well, unless you intentionally do that. But if you are actively building your business, you are in pre-launch mode. Share that creation, your creative process. And of course, you can promote things. It can be small little things or larger things that are coming up. So in your pre-launch, you mention, it can be an invitation. This is coming up. This is going to be happening in the future. You can really make announcements. In your launch time, you can share creative process, you can share your promotion, and it is your sales, depending on what your objective is. And in the post-launch, so that's after, you can still offer upsells. You can send an email. There's still prints available. Thank you for joining the event. Thank you for being there. You have the email addresses. You're sending a follow-up email. So there still is that emphasis on sales. And then once the post-launch is finished, you can go back into pre-launch mode. And depending where you are on your art journey, maybe you're a starter and you're just using your social media. So you don't have an email list yet, but you just have your social media, where you are starting to building relationships. Then you're thinking, okay, I'd like to build this email list. You get your email service provider, you get the clear system so that you can manage this email traffic. And then you announce on your social channels, I have an email list, please join, or go to my website. I have an exciting gift for you, and I'd love for you to follow along on my journey, whatever way and wording you choose. Then if you're an emerging artist, you have more events coming up. You have different needs as far as setting up a marketing campaign, email strategy that goes with that. And of course, when you're more experienced, you can be more elaborate. You can go, totally different funnels that you could be using. So if you have those three phases, your pre-launch, your launch, and your post-launch, it all starts with planning. So today's an exciting day. It's the end of June. And that's always like a moment when you look at your creative cycle. This is the creative cycle. We've had the first 6 months of the year. And now we're going to go towards the next 6 months of the year. Do you have anything on the calendar that you have in mind? This last 6 months of the year is a very lucrative time for creatives, because this is where we're going towards Thanksgiving, to Christmas, depending where you are in the world. People generally invest more in giftings. It's after the summer. I know in Northern Europe, people come back from vacations. They want something new on their walls. They want to invest in something new, or they want to start a course. It's usually around September. So this is a great time to go into your pre-launch phase, that you think, okay, I'd love to have a body of work, so maybe 25 paintings done. I've got the summer, I've got some time off. November is going to be my launch of a new print series. It's going to be a new body of work, or whatever products you want to have done, so that you're preparing for that season when people are investing more. So it's just something that as a creative business person, that this new season is coming. Important to plan. So depending where you are, starter, emerging, or experienced, don't worry. This is something that you can grow in, but it also helps to get that planner. Planning out your year. And now you've got 6 months towards the end of the year. What is it that you'd like to see happen by the end of the year? And how can you have your email list work in your favor? Because that will help you determine how you're going to structure your sequences. What is your end objective? Because then you're going to reverse engineer that and say, okay, November 15th, I'm going to have my new collection out. Now I'm going to start dripping out. I'm going to sending those emails so that my audience knows this is going to be coming up. And that anticipation is a wonderful momentum builder. So anyone have anything on their schedule for these next 6 months? Tomorrow, our third quarter starts, the 1st of July. We have then 2 more quarters towards the end of the year. Anyone have anything on their calendar, anything planned, anything specific? I know some of you are planning events, because then once you know that, you can start structuring your email sequences accordingly. So let me know in the comments, anyone have anything on their creation cycle? And this may take some getting used to, that you can actually plan ahead. Maybe you're so busy in your studio just making your art, or really into the creative process. But it's good to take a step back and have a look at your year and start breaking that year down into smaller chunks. Because once you get an idea of your planning, you can start aligning your marketing, your communication plan with that. And working in a cycle really helps, because you break it down into small little units. Maja has an exhibition coming up on the 10th of November. So that was close to my example, Maja. So that's great to now already break down how are you going to set up your communication plan. What is it that you're going to be telling people? What do you need people to know, so that at the end, when November 10th comes, that people are going to be attending, or whether it's virtual, maybe there's a virtual experience as well, and an offline experience, an in-person experience. Start breaking that down. And how can you set that up in your email communication? Exciting, Maja. Maja says that she has a couple of workshops, so that's also needs a communication plans. And Jess has 2 series of small pieces and 1 big piece. And Jan is designing a birthday calendar, so that's a good thing to start promoting, taking people with in that process, Jan, and you could get that communication flow going. So whatever it is that you have further down the line, good to start at the end, have a date, set a date, very important, and then start reverse engineering that, so that you can be very intentional how you promote and sell, because that will determine the content of this email sequence. And your email sequence should be aligned with your marketing, your bigger marketing message, so that not only just with the emails that you're sending, but you can align that with what you're going to put on Instagram, because that's part of your sequence, really. Because if someone sees that same artwork, promotional artwork or thumbnail, you also put that in your social media, on your Instagram, on your LinkedIn, on your Pinterest. There's that branding that they're going to be recognizing. So maybe they don't have time to see it on Instagram, but then they see that same image in that email sequence, then they're going to be triggered, like, okay, now I have time, I'm going to read it, and vice versa. So aligning all your different marketing messages helps. So maybe that is not possible when you're just starting out, you're just going to take the first step. But in the future, you can look back and say, okay, how can I align it more so that you have a very powerful message? And it helps to draw a mind map. I'm very visual, and I think all of you being creatives, we all draw it out, even in your sketchbook, just like draw a mind map. Okay, this is my opening of my exhibition, workshop, whatever's happening. What are my communication channels, and how can I align them? Branding, message, even just subject lines that you're using, something that you're repeating. Maybe there's a title that you can repeat in your messaging or in the subject line. call to action, where can people go to sign up, to register, to get more information, join a VIP club or something, that they can have special entrance at the opening, or an extra drink or something, a VIP moment with you 2 hours before the opening of the exhibition. You can set up really cool things to interact with people. Make sure you have clear goals, so that you're going to look in the future. Okay, I have a clear goal. This is the opening. A clear objective. What is it that you want people to do? What is the action that you want people to take? And then start breaking it down. 3 phases of your marketing, your email sequence. So this is a simple welcome sequence that you can start off with. And you can send, one email. That's totally fine, especially one is better than nothing. So if you join someone's email list, or you have now an email list, and you just planning that one email that you're welcoming people, that already is such a step. But you can get more and more fancy as you're moving forward, because making it small and bite-sized, you're going to take people on a journey, an onboarding journey, as they come into your community or joining your list. So the first email that you send is an introduction email. You welcome them as new subscribers to your email list, and they've joined your list, and you can introduce yourself. So maybe they know a little bit about yourself through social media, but now is your opportunity to tell them who you are. You can add a photo of yourself. It's that first introduction moment. Just think of an in-person event. When someone meets you, you say, hi, I'm and I'll do this, and just give them a brief overview, make it short. It's the first of the sequence. You can, a few days later, 3 or 4 days later, you can tell them highlights about your latest work, about your artist vision. So you're focusing not so much on yourself, but on your art. That's the second email that you could be sending, with some visuals added. So they think, oh, I just heard it from her 3 days ago, and how exciting. So plan it. So like you have day 1 when they join, and that's when the email service provider comes in. Then you can say, okay, day 4 or in day 6, I want them to get the second email, which is a highlight email. Then you can do the tour. You can give them a tour. You can do a screen grab of your website. If you go over to my website, you can see, this is where you can see my latest work. I have a blog that you can be following along. On my social media, you can find me here. Maybe you have a virtual gallery, or maybe you can give them a video of your tour of your studio, really inviting them into your space. And you can do different forms of that. It doesn't have to be very complicated. Then you could send them a call to action. So somewhere in your sequence, make sure that there's some kind of engagement. Ask a question. What do you think? What would you do? How do you see? Ask a question, because first of all, that's great to get people out of your spam box, especially if they're using Gmail, Hotmail. It could be a chance that their emails are ending into your spam. But if they are responding to that email, then there's a conversation going, and then the providers know, okay, this is not spam, there's been interaction. So that really helps too. And you are starting conversation, and there's nothing nicer than just taking that moment and responding quickly with a reply to something someone is saying. So getting that action going. And then after a sequence of 2 or 3 emails, 4 emails, short, brief emails in the welcoming sequence, they can join your main email list. And this takes some technology. When some of you are getting into the whole MailChimp story, or you using other providers, that you can say, okay, now they've gone through this whole welcome sequence. Now they're going to get my regular emails, whether that's once a week or once a month or once a quarter. Then they're going to be getting that like everyone else. But you can set up a special sequence just for the people that are joining your email list, and it can be automated and triggered. So that's something just for you to bear in mind, that is possible. Depending on your creation cycle, depending on what your objectives are, everyone should have some kind of welcome, whether that's one email, just being gracious and being a good host. But now you're taking a step further. You have this idea of an exhibition or something happening in the future. You know your creative cycle. You know when something is on your calendar, and you want to start communicating a sales email sequence. As you see, all these little dots with a little circle on it, those are emails that you could be sending. So it's not just one email, there's a series of emails that you could be sending. And this is an elaborate sales funnel. You can do half it or just do part of it. That already is better than nothing. When the pre-launch phase, that's the phase that we're all in. If you're not launching anything, you're sending regular emails. That's what we've been talking about in these sessions. Just sending a regular update on the things that you're doing, building relationships, showing people your work, sharing your vision. Behind the scenes, different things that you can be sharing with your community so that they are reminded that you're there. Not just like, when you finally have some kind of event, they have to think, who is that? I can't remember. They really have to dig really deep. But if you're communicating regularly and you've aligned to social media, people are in tune and they think, they're part of your journey. They are there with you. Then it's far easier to make that transition to a sale. So having that pre-launch, sending those regular emails about your creative process, sharing your personality, your vision, what we've been talking about also in the welcome sequence, that's all part of your pre-launch phase. So that's part of your strategy, and that's something that you do regularly. Then we have something specific on the calendar. You are going into launching, and then the first part of your sequence could be that you are announcing. You're making an announcement. You are sending an invitation. I have something coming up. Please, put it on your calendar. Make people aware of something that's happening. So, Maja, that's in November. You can say, put it on your calendar. Only 3 months to go, and want you not to miss out. You can have that starting of your marketing campaign. Release dates. This is the promotional phase. Then there's that anticipation phase, and you can send a few emails, 1 or 2, or if you want to do more, in the process leading up to launch date. Reminders, you can give a little bit sneak peeks behind the scenes, details of the launch, give people more information, because you must see this as little snippets. Not everyone will see every email, not everyone will see your post. And those little puzzles, those little snippets that they'll get from all that information should make a complete sort of idea. People are like, okay, there's an event coming up in November, Maja, and this is what she's doing. And they're totally aware and ready to take some kind of action. So these are anticipation emails, reminders leading up to the launch date. And you can increase the frequency as your launch date approaches. So maybe now you send once every 2 weeks that anticipation mail. But as you approach 2 days before, 1 day before, you can increase the frequency of sending more emails. So people are like, okay, yeah, it's next week. Oh, yeah, it's next Monday. Oh, it's in 2 days. People get reminded. And then the launch day happens. So it's good to send it one before. So maybe you have the cart is opening on your Etsy shop or online, or the actual event, or you have a workshop or something happening. The day before is a good part of your sequence. Send them at a certain time. Tomorrow it's happening, or in 24 hours it's happening. Would love to see you there, counting down the day itself. There's more in the morning. You can say within an hour, maybe you have some kind of official opening with a countdown clock. You really can make the most of that. You're thinking, well, I'm really overwhelming people with so many emails. If they've been going on the journey with you, you've built up the favor, the people are informed about what you're doing. I can tell you now, it doesn't feel like spam because they are part of your community. You've involved with the process. It's spamming when they know nothing about you. And then right just the day before, you're sending them like 3 emails. But when they've gone through a process with you, there is that generosity with people. They want to be informed and they are grateful. Oh, thank you for reminding me. I was so busy. I'm so happy with those reminder emails because, we're busy. So just getting those triggers really helps. So that's the launch part of the sequence. And then you have your post-launch where there's that follow-up email. Thank you for coming. There's a last minute extra, or I have something unexpected. I have a little gift for you, or we have extended the program, or this is going to be happening in the future. I have this PDF from the workshop I'd love for you to access, or go to my website or whatever. the follow-up is. So these are all emails that you could send, and make that mind map of what you want to communicate. How you're going to split up that information. So just make little tabs. This is going to be my invitation. This is going to be my anticipation. This is the sales, the launch, and this is the follow-up. And even if you write 4 emails, get them in a note or in a doc, and how you're going to be adding some of your branding, your signature, the PS, and then get that in your email service provider. Esther McLeod is part of our community, the Working Artist faculty. She teaches all about licensing. She's an illustrator, she's an artist herself, and with a wonderful, vibrant community. And she's giving a workshop next month, all about color. And her whole campaign was, do you love color? And so she started sending a few weeks ago an invitation email. So this is part of an invitation sequence of inviting people to an event, which is a workshop intensive all about color. She added her branding, she added an image that is more exciting. She shared about the event, how she came about to organize the event, and a little bit about herself for the people that are new in her community. Please take time to follow Esther. She's a wonderful communicator. She's originally also from South Africa. She lives in the UK, and she's wonderful Insta feed, very inspiring. She goes live twice a week, and she has all kinds of wonderful connection points also with her community. Join her email list as an example. So this is a great example of an invite email. Then there was the reminder. So this is the anticipation phase. You can send 1, 2, or 3 that it's coming up. Just a reminder, don't miss out. There was an early bird for this campaign, for this course that she's doing about color. And so she then just reminded also with her branding, the color, her letterhead, it's coming up soon, don't miss out, reminder email. And this is the one I got today, was all about the registration is closing. So this is a reminder towards launch date, just to tell you that there's the last opportunity that you can join, because then the course will be started. So this is a sequence. See, there's not a lot of text. I mean, the first one is a little bit more elaborate, but it's visual. They're little reminders, and this is part of her sequence. Something that you could do with your artwork, with an event, or with event coming up. Mish is also part of the alumni. She's a student of the Working Artist course, but also she taught this year in our course. She gave an art expert session. She is a website designer, graphic artist, and a wonderful communicator. And she's organized a virtual art exhibition. In this whole COVID time, she took all her art and put it in a virtual space. So she also sent, so please follow Mish as well. She is also a very nice, exciting and inspiring Insta feed. Join her email list and you'll also stay informed. She sent that invite. She very clear graphic. She added a nice video of herself, which you can embed in your emails so that people can read more or hear your voice, see your face, if that's something you want to do. Nice graphics, explanation. How does this virtual exhibition work? Because that needs a little bit of explanation, because not everyone knew how that works. So she informed her public. There was an invitation. Then there was a reminder. Tonight we have this virtual exhibition. You're invited. Just quickly, briefly, what steps you could take. And then there was the countdown. So shortly before, we're going to start in an hour. So this is all part of building that anticipation and getting people informed. And it really works. Imagine if you just sent one and like a few people saw it and they totally forgot about it because they were just busy with thousands of other things. It really helps sending a sequence, getting clear about what your objectives are, clear about how you're going to be communicating and to who, and then sending it out on a regular interval, getting your timing, and that comes through experience. When are you going to be sending things and where? So hopefully this helps you guys of how you can start setting up these sequences. This is an elaborate sales email sequence, but start also with your creative cycle. You can start off with that welcome sequence. Start with 1, 2, or 3 emails, breaking it down and telling people, showing people around, inviting them to your world, and then taking them on that journey. So is this clear? Just give me a yes if it's clear. or a no, then we can continue the conversation. And or if there are any questions about setting up these email sequences, of course, you are free to go back and have a look at things again. So is this clear, guys? Oh, Sisa, good that you make the session. I see that you're here. Wonderful. Clear? Okay, good. Good, Anita. Thank you for your feedback and yeses too. Well, that's it's good for me to hear. I know it's a lot of information. I'd love to have these conversations face to face, because then I can see, you know, it's like the next step in your art business. I know you should be making your art, but this is also part of building your art business, going into a higher level in your communication. And you really will see the results. So they're not just making your art, you actually, that it's resonating, that people are engaging with you and understanding more about your vision, finding their way around your content, whether that's your website, your social channels, or an in-person. They know where your studio is, they know what they are, updated with what you're doing. Questions will come by doing. Yes, Maja, you are welcome to ask questions, also in the community. I know some of you were wrestling through MailChimp, that you, I know Ditto and I think Sissa, and some of you were like, okay, MailChimp. It can be quite something, a tough cookie to get. I see Mish also uses MailChimp to understand how does this MailChimp work. I did some research. I went into a lot of forums and blogs just to find out, okay, how can I help you take next steps and take away some of the confusion. There are MailChimps, there are MailChimp experts out there. And this is someone that's in my community. She's Miss Penguin, and she is from the States. But you could contact her. She can give you a consult. These are paid consults, maybe just to get you started, just to get your layout and to get the structure of MailChimp going. And of course, you can go to Fiverr, put it down there, Fiverr or Upwork. These are virtual places where you can hire experts. So you can hire them for a session for an hour, and you can screen share, and they can go through your MailChimp account with you and just start setting up. They can set up your whole MailChimp account. They can make templates for you. So these are MailChimp experts. So just for you to know that they are out there. So if you're really getting stuck, you can ask for help, and that there are consultants out there. MailChimp is quite elaborate. It's a free platform, but there are other platforms out there that are far more intuitive. It's copy-paste. You can maybe look at MailerLite is an option. They have a free program as well. And Flowdesk is something that I've got experience with. It is a paid platform, but has a lot of lovely visuals that you can add photos, videos, and break down your text. So it's not just a whole bunch of text, but it's easy to read and also very easy to manage your list. So that's just, I wanted to throw that in the group. We did a lot of talking about MailChimp, but there are other email service providers out there that you can consider and have a look at. So guys, so that is the series on email communication. Hopefully this has given you some insights about what's possible, and that could be a crucial part of your art business, a way to connect with your art audience in a far deeper way. We went through all the different sections of email communication, and I look forward to seeing where you are going to be implementing, and also your lists. Keep us posted in the group if you are ready, and we'd love to stay connected also in that way. But what's coming next? Of course, July is around the corner, and so next week we start with a new series. We're going to be looking at how to get the most out of your social media. We're going to start off by looking at optimizing your Facebook, everything from your profile, your pages, your setting up your descriptions. There's so many little hidden gem things that you can do in Facebook to make it more effective and to communicate through that social channel. Then we're going to be looking at using Instagram to sell your art, using Pinterest, which is an amazing, it's like a search engine. If you want to rank higher in Google, if you want to have more visibility in organic search, Pinterest is a wonderful platform, so I'll highlight some things there. And then on the 28th, it's the last Wednesday of the month, we're going to be doing a Q&A. So you can, it's just an open session where we can talk all things social media. So that's our sessions for the month of July, all about optimizing and getting the most out of your social media. So hopefully those sessions will be of benefit to you too. Just going to see if there's any last minute questions. Good, I'm glad it's clear. I'm glad, yes, Sissa, I look forward to seeing how that whole MailChimp story develops for you. And Marty uses Active Campaign, which is also, wonderful platforms, got a lot of different parts that you can use. Thank you guys for being here. I don't know if there's any last questions. Then if I've missed them, I'm sorry. I will go back and have a look at the feed. And if you have anything you want to share as far as an event coming up or something that, that's relevant for the community, please add that to the feed, and we'd love to follow along. Then I'll be here, same time, same place. Anything coming in? Hi, Heather. Good to have you here. We're about to sign off. Hopefully you guys have a wonderful afternoon wherever you are. Have an inspired week. See you in the community. Otherwise, next week where we're going to be looking at this social media, how to get the most out of your social media. Thank you for being an amazing community and for showing up and being here. And then we'll be seeing each other next week. Bye, guys.